New Zealand has a best-selling book of all time. Do you know what it is? It's not the great short stories of Catherine Mansfield. It's not a Booker Prize-winning novel. It's not, fortunately, a book on sport. It's actually a cookbook. To be more precise, the Edmonds Cookery Book. And here is my well-used and well-loved copy. There's an interesting story behind this cookbook. In the year 1879, a man called Thomas Edmonds opened a little grocery store, and he noticed that the quality of baking powder that was being sold commercially at the time was not very reliable. He began to experiment, and he started to make baking powder in the back of his little shop, and he began to sell it. Someone once came in and questioned the quality and reliability of his product, and Thomas Edmonds replied, "It is sure to rise, madam." And from that came the company's famous slogan. Now, Thomas Edmonds went on to create a factory which is still in Christchurch in New Zealand today, and he began to sell his baking powder and other products. In 1908, Thomas Edmonds brought out his first little cookbook, the Sure to Rise Cookery Book, which of course in every recipe promoted the use of the baking powder. The first edition, which was very, very small, only about 20 pages, was distributed to a few people, but very rapidly he noticed that the sales of his baking powder began to rise enormously. So the book went on and on and on. And today, the Edmonds Cookbook is in most New Zealand homes and is officially recognised as a New Zealand icon. Now, at one time, the cookery book was actually sent unsolicited to every newly engaged couple in the country. And the book, of course, has gone through many different editions and changes. It had to change, of course, according to new appliances that came out, new ways of measuring things, and new changing tastes within the country. But it always prided itself on being a very practical, sensible, go-to book if you had any query at all when it came to cooking. So if you need to know how to convert one form of measurement to another, the Edmonds Cookbook will tell you. If you want to know different temperatures according to different appliances, once again, it will tell you. If you have a piece of corned beef that needs to be boiled, how long do you boil it for? You go to the Edmonds Cookbook. How long does a piece of meat need if it's roasting in the oven? Once again, the cookbook will tell you. So it is a really useful cookbook for anyone who is perhaps fairly new to cooking or who just needs to find out something according to a change of a recipe, whatever it might be. In 1976, spiral binding was introduced to the Edmonds Cookbook, and my copy, of course, does have the spiral binding. This made it possible for the book to lie flat on a kitchen bench as the cook was getting busy preparing the recipe. Today, over 4 million copies of the Edmonds Cookbook have been sold, and it has remained New Zealand's fastest-selling New Zealand published book. Now, illustrations were never a major feature of the Edmonds Cookbook. Mine has a few, there's a few coloured pages of illustrations, but really it's not a major feature as it is in most cookbooks today. Lots of the different recipes are crowded onto 1 or 2 different pages. So pictures of the different recipes were not considered to be necessary in the cookbook. The Edmonds Cookbook has wonderfully everyday recipes and, of course, lots of fabulous Kiwi recipes. Bacon and egg pie is there, Louise cake, Anzac biscuits, and other things like that. It gives you recipes for preserving fruit. It gives you all sorts of old favourites, and it is a wonderfully useful cookbook. Probably more than any other cookbook in my cupboard, the Edmonds Sure to Rise Baking Powder Cookbook is the one that I have turned to again and again and again. The recipe that I have used most frequently over the years is the one for tomato relish. My tomato relish is very popular, and people often say, oh gosh, can you give me the recipe? And I suggest that they look up the Edmonds Cookbook. It makes a wonderfully popular present. It's delicious in sandwiches or with cold meat or with sausages, barbecues. It's a really fabulous recipe that I have made again and again and again. The Edmonds Cookbook is now in its 69th edition, and I can't see any indications that they will stop producing this wonderfully useful and, I think, extremely helpful cookbook. But I think it will just go on and on and on as the real Kiwi icon as it is.